boy. How did I know? How did I know? You're always laying down.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Lions offense against this Green Bay Packers defense. Last week, we talked about the other side of the ball, and I want to talk about both sides this week. I want to do a video on the Lions defense slowing down this Packers offense tomorrow. I know that's going to be very difficult, but today, I want to talk about this Lions offense that scored 33 points in their opener against San Francisco. It was a very strange game, so the 33 points came kind of weird. We had two two-point conversions, but we did score some points, and we showed that there's a lot of potential with this offense. So let's get it started.
We're going to bite a kneecap off, and we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up, and then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Welcome, everybody, to another video. Glad you guys are here. And we're here to dive into this Lions offensive game plan against this Packers defense. The goal is to make this one shorter than the last one. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to show some clips of film that I've seen, specifically in that Packers and Saints game, because they have a new defensive coordinator, Joe Barry, who, yes, was with the Lions when we went 0-16. He was with Washington. He was with Sean McVay, so there's connections there. He has some of the Vic Fangio background. So, there's a lot of things that they may do defensively that our guys are familiar with just from practice, which hopefully is going to be beneficial for us. We'll have to wait and see. And of course, this being a divisional game, this is a rivalry game, you really never know exactly what to expect. But today I want to talk about the Lions offense and where I think we can attack this Packers defense, where we could have some success, and maybe just what to expect in this week 2 game. I feel like we got a couple things right in the week 1 thing. We didn't get everything right though, because we mainly talked about the defense. It was on the other side of the ball. So let's try the Lions offense today. First thing I want to do is dive into the depth chart for the Green Bay Packers. Just quick little overview, get familiar with who the players are that they have. Look at what they're working with in this game. Just get a good little feel of who's going to be out there on the field for the Green Bay Packers. Now, we're going to get into the film in a second, but schematically, just the way that they line up will look pretty similar to what we've seen with the Detroit Lions. They are a 2-shell defense. Some of the Vic Fangio background, they'll do a lot of things post-snap with their safeties, where a guy will fly into the box, one will stay deep, then they're in a single high safety look. They'll do a lot of that, so you'll see that. You'll also see a 3-4 base defense that looks like ours. They do the same thing. They basically put 5 guys along the line of scrimmage in base sets, 2 outside linebackers along the line, 3 defensive linemen, and 2 inside linebackers behind that. Sub packages, you'll see some 2-4-5 looks. They kind of just mix it around, but really for them in sub packages, it's about getting those speed rushers out there. A lot of times it's just linebackers and a lot of defensive backs. They're a very tough team to play from behind on. Okay, we know that. We've seen that in the past. They are tough because they can get after you fast, and they have some good coverage guys in the back end. So that's what makes them difficult. But let's dive into this depth chart a little bit. So starting off with the defensive line, you have Dean Lowry, you have Kenny Clark, you have Kingsley Kiki? I don't even know how to say this guy's name, to be honest. But defensive linemen, even though the idea behind beating the Packers is run the football, and I agree with that, it's going to be a huge part, and we'll get into it. The defensive line, to me, isn't that bad. Individually, Dean Lowry is a good run defender. Kenny Clark is really good all around. He's a good pass rusher and run defender. You can have them out there on any play, and Kenny Clark can do something. He can blow up some run plays. He's got a lot of nice pass rush moves. Good run defender. He's about 320 pounds, but he's athletic enough to get after the quarterback, which makes him a big problem. And Kingsley, who is kind of up and coming, especially as a run defender. So their defensive line isn't that bad. It's pretty athletic. They do have some backups that they'll throw in there. We're not sure if Lancaster's going to play, that are a little bit bigger, more run stuffers, maybe if they know you're rushing the football. But overall, there's some talent along that defensive line. The outside linebacker positions, we do have an interesting update here, which we'll get into when we get to the injury report. But if you're here, we'll talk about it now. Preston Smith on one side, and usually it's za'darius Smith. You get the Smith brothers on both sides in those base sets, but we will not be seeing that against the Lions, which is, of course, beneficial for us because za'darius Smith has been placed on IR. He's out for 3 weeks. Now, we didn't see him a ton of week 1. He only played 18 snaps. It was limited because of the back injury that he was dealing with. He did not practice yesterday, so now they have placed him on IR. So he won't play against the Lions. But that man, Preston Smith is a beast. That's what messed me up there. Preston Smith is a game changer. I was so impressed watching him back in week 1, especially in run defense. He can blow up things single-handedly, force plays back inside, and he has some pass rush upside. I think za'darius is a better pass rusher, but all around, Preston is a beast, especially as a run defender. He gives you a lot of fits there. Now at the other outside linebacker position, sometimes they'll throw their inside linebackers like a Devondre Campbell at that spot. He's done it in the past, depending on what they're lining up as. In base sets, as you can see, we'll probably see some Rashawn Gary out there, some Jonathan Garvin, who we also saw last week. So our tackles won't really catch a ton of break here because either Preston Smith is going to be on their side or it's going to be Rashawn Gary. And the thing is with Rashawn Gary, and we talked about it actually in the injury report, is that even though he's not the starter, He's super talented. He's a crazy athlete. The guy's 280 pounds, which is about the size of za'darius Smith. A little bit taller. Obviously, he was a top pick by the Packers coming out of Michigan. The guy ran a 4.58 40 at 280 pounds. That's crazy athletic. In the snaps that he did get last season, he played almost half of the snaps last season, so he still did play. Last week, he played 60% of the snaps because za'darius already limited. Had 5 sacks, one of the highest pressure rates. He's a good player at getting after the quarterback, and he could arguably be a better run defender than za'darius Smith. I mean, we'll find out because Smith is going to be out for at least 3 weeks, but Rashawn Gary is very, very talented, crazy athletic. Now, keep in mind with both these guys, really the only one you're going to see drop into coverage is going to be a guy like Preston Smith. Rashawn Gary won't drop into coverage that often. The inside linebacker position, they have a new addition here, which is Devondre Campbell, and they also have Chris Barnes going into his second year at UDFA back in 2020. Important about both these inside linebackers is it kind of gives me some San Francisco vibes. They are both very quick, fast linebackers that can fly around the field, but they're not that big. They're about 230 pounds each, which is a little bit on the smaller side for inside linebackers like San Francisco had. And when you watch back the San Francisco game, the more and more I look at the run game and how the Lions attacked San Francisco, I think we're going to see a lot of similarities in our game. And you could also watch the Saints game to an extent and see where they had success rushing the football, because it really wasn't everywhere. It wasn't like they were gashing them every play. They had some success in certain areas, though. So I think for them, it's about really getting downhill on those two inside linebackers. They're pretty fast. These linebackers have some versatility. It was impressive. Chris Barnes last season at UDFA, and he kind of took over a starting job at that linebacker position. And when you look at a guy like Devondre Campbell, a new addition, they talk about his coverage ability a lot, and both these guys are good run defenders. I want to make that clear. Devondre Campbell doesn't miss many tackles. They're both good run defenders, but pass coverage is not necessarily their strong suit. Now, Devondre Campbell may get some hype here. Straight up man coverage, he's not fantastic. Now, what they both have going for them, they're pretty fast. Devondre Campbell ran a 4.58 40, I believe. The guy has straight line speed, so that can help him in certain man-to-man situations, getting out to flats, and he's shown versatility to play outside linebacker and inside linebacker. When you watch him, he's a good tackler. Where he really thrives in coverage is zone coverage. And going back and watching that Saints game, there wasn't a lot of plays they put them in man coverage. There wasn't a lot of sets where they would ask their inside linebackers to play man coverage on a Kamara on the tight end spot. But there was a few. And when you get those matchups, you want to attack those. Try to take advantage when you get those matchups. And I'm sure Jared Goff will. So that's, kind of what to know about the inside linebacker position. It's a very interesting spot. And then, of course, you have the cornerback position, which has Jair Alexander. Very versatile player. Very good player as well. He's their best cornerback. The guy can play at the nickel spot. He can play on the outside. He's fantastic. They also have Kevin King at the other cornerback position. Now, King gave up a couple of big plays last week. He got some hate. Hopefully, if he's on the field, we can take advantage of Kevin King in coverage. He's been kind of like, are they going to go forward with him or not for a while now? That's why they drafted Eric Stokes so early. And he didn't play a lot of snaps week 1. We could see a lot more Stokes this week. We'll just have to wait and see how the game rolls. But I bet that's not going to take very much for them to put Eric Stokes and give him more snaps if Kevin King comes out slow in this game. But that is a guy that I would look to in terms of matchups to attack over Jair Alexander. Shannon Sullivan, another guy you can look to attack. There was a lot of coverage situations where he seemed that communication was off with other guys. And then at the safety position, they have 2 talented players here. Now, there's no guarantee that Darnell Savage plays in this game, so we'll have to wait and see what the injury report comes back with. And also Adrian Amos, 2 good safeties, both versatile in the fact that, yes, they can do these split safety looks. One guy can jump into the box, one can drop deep. They both have that ability, kind of like the Lions are trying to get in their secondary. So overall, individually, there's actually a pretty good amount of talent here, and there's a lot of speed on this defense. That's what I would definitely bring up, especially in that front 7. So I get a lot of vibes of San Francisco as well when I watch this defense and I just see their personnel. So I think there could be similar ways to attack how this defense goes about things. So let's talk about this Lions rushing attack against this Packers run defense. And that's kind of the spot that gets a lot of attention for the Lions here, is the area that they can attack the Green Bay Packers, because we've had some success here in the past against the Packers doing this, but also what we saw in week 1. But the same thing that we saw in week 1 is what we've seen in the past as well. Just like last year against the Packers, we fall behind by double digits in the second half. They score before half. They come out of half. They break a touchdown. Now we're down by double digits. It takes away the element of the rushing attack, and now we're one-dimensional. It's the same thing that happened in week 1 against San Fran. We're running the ball well, but you find yourself down by, 28 to 10, 31 to 10 at half. a lot of that run game element is gone. And then at that point, you're one-dimensional and the defense can just play the pass. The Lions must avoid in this game is being in that situation where the Lions are down big and they can't run the football. And that doesn't mean you have to be winning the game. It just means you got to keep it close, keep it competitive where that option is still on the table to keep the defense guessing. But I think the way that you run the ball on this team could be very similar to the way that we had success in really the first half against San Francisco rushing the football. And when I look at this Packers defense and I look at their personnel and I see how they do things defensively, what guys' strengths are, it gives me a lot of vibes from the San Francisco defense in the same way that we went at them. If you watch the Saints game back, it wasn't like they gashed them every time they had the football. Actually, they came out kind of early and there wasn't a lot of good rushing attempts. And some areas I feel like they had a lot more success than others, and I think the Lions will as well. When you watch that Saints game back, first guy, Preston Smith, that really catches your eye. He is a game changer at outside linebacker, especially in run defense. He single-handedly forced plays back inside. He made some tackles on his own, blew up some plays. He was really good against the run. So rushing the ball to his side, it led to some issues, and we'll talk about how they kind of went against that. That's the first guy. And also in the defense line, like, they got some players there. They got guys that will shed blocks. They have an athletic defensive lineman that can run in some of those zone rushing plays. So the Lions may have some advantage there in terms of power, but I think the Lions have really good run blockers, so that's what I would definitely look at. And then at the inside linebacker position, their inside linebackers are a little bit on the smaller side, 230 pounds each. They're fast. They fly around. But they're guys that if you can get your hands on them and you can connect, you can usually move them out of the way and you can create big lanes for the running back. That's where I saw the Saints have some success. The outside runs, if you're going to try it definitely can work. You can get some push if you block really well. I really think the Lions will look to attack in this run game this week. It's just like they did against San Francisco. And look, they do what they do at a high level. Those inside linebackers, they do a fantastic job of avoiding blockers.
Watch the left tackle and right guard on this play. Just see the push they're able to get on the defensive line. And yes, that is Kenny Clark, number 97, against the right guard here. Also, these outside linebackers are vicious. Plus, look at the receiver blocking into the second level. I think that's very important. We're going to need our guys to be able to do that, pick up blocks. You can see the space they're able to create. The linebackers, of course, flying around. The outside linebackers, they did their job setting the edge. But I think this is where we can get our most push. Now, in comparison, the Lions go to more of an inside zone in comparison to the mid zone the Saints kind of did. But you can also see the offensive line movement. Look at Jonah Jackson. He kind of just moves the defender where he was going. And then second level blocking, picking up linebackers. That's beautiful. We can do that against the Packers. You got guys like this running free into the secondary. That's going to be a problem, and they're going to have to put safeties down. Another example here to the weak side of the field. Watch the left tackle jump out. He's not going to continue with the stretch zone. He's jumping out to create this inside lane. You're going to see the left guard. Look at the push he's able to get here. Now, Kenny Clark does his thing against this right guard who's a little off balance, puts him down, and then you see the inside linebackers. If we can pick up those linebackers, we'll have a lot more room. That's still a solid run, though. You see the space they can create. I personally love this play design. Trips left to run it to the left side, makes it a little bit weaker on that side of the field, and look at that block by number 80 on the inside linebacker who catapults this. Now, it'll be interesting to see if the Lions do things like this, running a trap run play, and it's all about Frank Ragnow's ability to slide over there and pick up where Jonah Jackson left so he can get to the second level. Now, Matt Nelson wasn't getting the kind of push, and that's why Big V's helping him on this play that you would like. So Anthony Lynn put Penei Sewell on the right side of the field, and he overloaded it. And we've seen this in the past. Maybe we'll see it again this week. That's one of the things that kind of stinks not having Taylor Decker is Matt Nelson doesn't get the same kind of push that Sewell would on that side alone. The reason I wonder if the Lions will try something like this against the Green Bay Packers is because their defensive line is pretty darn athletic, and you see that here. They're going to try to pull their guard out of their spot, and you can see the Packers defensive line, they get there before their left tackle is able to pick it up, and he blows the spot up. Plus, the outside linebacker, man, does a fantastic job of also doing his thing here. So it's a little bit of both on this play, but that's why I like attacking inside the outside linebackers.
And assuming we're going to see a lot of the same things that we've seen from Anthony Lynn, the zone rushing attack, I think the inside zone, or at least the mid zone, is where the Lions will have a lot of success. First off, they could cut off Preston Smith at that outside linebacker spot. That way, instead of allowing him to blow it up on some of those outside run plays like he did multiple times in the Saints game, you kind of cut him off from the play, you let him set the edge, and then you push him out. And it's really about three things here for the running back. You have the dive option, you have the bounce option, bouncing it to the outside, and you also have that cutback lane.
There's a lot of things to like with how the Lions are running the ball against San Francisco that I think they can take with them to this Green Bay game. So here are the blocking assignments that you see. You have the motion, which draws the defender out of the play. Notice at the bottom of the screen, you're getting the receiver block. I think that's going to be very important in this game as well. And then Sewell and Frank Ragnow, they show a good job of getting up to the second level. So look at the motion. I love it. And they're just going to get this cutback by DeAndre Swift, which he hits really well. But it's all about these linemen. They're picking up linebackers at the second level and staying connected, which is huge. Watch Sewell. See how he stays connected and it opens up a beautiful lane. That's going to be there against Green Bay if we can pick up these linebackers at the second level. And then you take a look at Alvin Kamara here. This is a little bit of a different situation, but you're going to see him bounce it towards the outside. The handoff, you know, the setup to the inside, you can see the inside linebackers crashed inside. That's where the blocking was going. But Kamara then just a vision to bounce it to the outside, get their offensive lineman to the second level. And if they can pick up these linebackers, which they had success doing against San Francisco, they can open some lanes and spring these running backs free, really just winning with what their advantage is here, which is power. I think they have the advantage in power. The defense has the advantage with speed. And I think that's where the Lions can take advantage offensively. Even McNeil talked about this, even though he was talking about the defense yesterday and where the Lions could have the advantage. Plus, some of their coverage sets that they're going to throw out there, if they're showing a lot of these two-shell looks, whether that's cover 2, cover 4, whatever it may be, that's another area where the Lions should look to attack on the ground game, because if you can do that, usually you can pull one of those safeties into the box or defensive back into the box. You'll get man-to-man coverage. You'll get a single high safety look most of the time, and then you're going to have opportunities to get some shots down the field. And yes, if we can hit a couple of those shots early, that'd be fantastic. I think the Lions just need to stick to it. If you look at the 3 losses that Green Bay had in the regular season last year, all 3 of those teams went well over 30 carries. They pounded the ball throughout the game. And even if they're going to slide a safety into the box, they're still running the football well. I wouldn't be opposed to keeping it up and just saying, because look, their safeties, their biggest strength is coverage. So anytime you can pull one of these safeties into the box, because they have to respect the run game because you're all over it. Slide Amos or Savage, probably going to be Savage, but whichever one into the box, their strengths are coverage. So anytime you can take them out of that area, that's a huge benefit for us. Pounding the ball consistently. People forget that you don't have to play with the lead against Green Bay Packers. You can play from behind. You just have to be in striking distance somewhat where you can keep the run game alive. There's the difference between being down 14 in the second half and being down 21 coming out of the second half, right? There's big differences there. 28 points when it was 38-10. But like, for example, you look at the Colts last season when they beat the Packers. They came out of half down by 2 touchdowns and ran the ball 8 straight times. There's nothing wrong with the outside run plays. I actually think the Lions are going to have to implement those in this game just to keep the Packers off balance. If you run everything in between the tackles, it's kind of like, all right, that's where they're attacking. We can slide a safety. We can shoot down blitzes down the middle. So I think for the Lions, getting a couple plays to the outside just to make them respect that is definitely necessary. If they find success there, keep it rolling. I just think they'll have more success inside. But early in the game, they could hit something outside just to make them respect it early. I love them running the football when they were forced the defense into sub packages. I just thought, they could outnumber the defense there with their defensive line, putting only 4 players basically there in that 2-4-5 look, and then just trusting your offensive line to win that battle. They would also do some motions. They'd go 2 running back sets, motion someone across the field or motion a running back out. And if they could pull a linebacker out of there, now it's just strictly defensive line versus offensive line, and they trusted their O-line. I believe I read this is the first time since the year 2000, which is just nuts that this is even a thing, that the Packers gave up 2 15-plus yard drives for touchdowns in a game. Look, they did everything right defensively. They forced turnovers. They got off the field, so they put Jameis Winston in great field position in the second half. Offensively, long drives. We had one of those in San Fran. If we can do that against San Francisco, we can do it against Green Bay. So when you move the ball like that, and they chewed the clock too. They shortened the game. It was a game plan going into it. We're going to run the football, but at the same time, we're going to snap with 2 seconds on the play clock. And that's what they did. They shortened the game, and it all pulled together because their defense forced a couple turnovers. And at that point, man, they were feeling really good. These defensive linemen will probably single-handedly blow up some plays, and these outside linebackers, just because they do a great job of getting off offensive linemen. But if you continuously go at him, you're going to break some runs. Past Joe Barry defenses have not been fantastic stopping the run. They allowed 4.4 yards a carry in week 1. Washington, 2015, he allowed 4.8 yards per carry. 2016, they allowed 4.5 yards per carry. He was fired after that season. Then he goes on to the Rams. And actually, this is where the connection with Sean McVay and Ari Pleasant. Here with the Rams, he worked with the linebackers. He was a linebacker coach. He's a former linebacker, Joe Barry is. So that's kind of his specialty, is these inside linebackers. You look at the Lions' passing attack against the Green Bay Packers pass defense. When did you start guessing on your bets? I've just been guessing. And who were your picks for week 1? Pats -3 over the Dolphins, and Bills over the Steelers -6.5. So I'm sure you're confused what the heck is going on here. Let's go back a little bit to kind of set the stage. Patriots and Dolphins. I kind of like the Patriots logo. I feel like that's underrated. Patriots all the way. Don't be this guy. Download BetQL to make smart bets. BetQL's best bet computer scans 350,000 unique bets
per year to give you recommendations on all games, on all major sports. Take the Saints. Michael Thomas, he's going to carry that team. He's going to kill it. Trust me on this one.
Bro, Thomas ain't playing week 1.
Get up-to-date injury and lineup changes. That way things like this don't happen. I just put the money on them because of him. Solely because of him. Allegra, who should I take? Oh, it's Alexa. Alexa is not plugged in. It covers spreads, over-unders, prop player bets, and all the tools that you need to do your own research. Plus, you can see who the pros are backing. Keep up with real-time line movement with your bets. Background knowledge on team summaries, how they've done against the spread. You can look at scenarios, home, away, on grass. Head to try.betql.co/DoseOfDion to get started. Use promo code DOD for 25% off.
I felt hopeless.
So hopeless. Now download BetQL.
Wait.
This is an interesting area. I think you're going to see a lot of things that we've seen with our past defense, but they're going to have their own wrinkles that they're going to throw out there. Like I said, he has kind of that Vic Fangio background, the two-shell defense background, cover 2, cover 4, cover 6, which is just a mix of cover 4 and cover 2. Going back and looking at early Joe Barry, Tampa 2 was very popular for him. And this is, again, zone coverage for linebackers. I like the way that he utilizes linebackers to his strengths. If they're not great in man coverage, he'll play them in a lot of zone coverage. You won't see many man-to-man opportunities against this team for linebackers. Compare his PFF grades if you want. It's like a 38 in man coverage compared to a 69 in zone coverage. Tampa 2 is very popular, so you see the cover 2 carry over in these two-shell looks defensively. We're probably going to see it a lot in this game.
Unfortunately, we don't have all 22, which makes it kind of tough to see what the secondary is doing. But if this was a Tampa drop, you can see the inside linebacker Barnes drops deep here and as soon as he realizes it's a pass play. And then you can see Devondre Campbell taking away the flat. And because of that, underneath will be open.
Tough because they all do kind of look the same when they line up. Right, I mean, man looks just like zone because they're lined up the same way, unless you make motions or things like that, then can you disguise through a motion? Now, I would like to see a few shots to just stretch this defense at least, and I would actually like to see that early, just to make them respect it. Cover 2 to cover is 3 receivers going deep, because you only have 2 deep safeties splitting the field in half, and then everybody else in a cover 2 situation is playing underneath. Now, if it's an obvious passing down, they're probably going to be in a cover 4, cover 2 man, something different. But if it's early, you hit him with a play action, you get a couple deep shots, you send verticals down the field, 3 receivers, now you can space it out where at least you can get a shot, and it's going to be tough for those safeties because they're going to have to pick and choose who they want to take. So at that point, at least you can show, hey, we're going to take shots down the field. Go to sub packages, they only have 4 players. A lot of times they like to bring a 4-man rush. I didn't see them bring a 3-man rush. Put them in a sub package, and then you have a running back come out of the backfield. A lot more opportunities there. Short routes are perfectly fine. Taking the dump offs, the check downs, especially against cover 4, but you take the check downs if they're there. And that's perfectly fine. You keep us on top of the chains. It continues to have that run game opened up for us. And if he's a little bit more precise early, that'll help us out a ton. But against this cover 2, there are a couple of weak spots that you have to look at. The middle of the field is where you can attack. You get the safety spread out. Sometimes deep routes can open that up, and then you have the tight end attack over the middle of the field. You have to see how deep these inside linebackers are playing in zone coverage. If it's coming off of play action, you may have an ability to get behind these inside linebackers between the safeties with a guy like Hawkinson or whoever it may be. Over the middle of the field, those options can kind of come alive.
Now, these inside linebackers are definitely fast, and you could see it right off the jump. But a lot of this attacking the zone is about the quarterback's eyes, and you see it here moving Chris Barnes with his eyes. You can see him staring down this running back route to hold Chris Barnes, and he's able to attack behind with Shannon Sullivan in coverage. And he was trying to get a pass off there, it looked like, with the safety, but the wheel route on the bottom occupied his man to pass off.
Hawkinson, you look at his games against the Packers last season were big games, and this was before Joe Barry even got there. Last week, the Saints, they only had 14 completions, but a majority of their completions came to the tight end position, so look for that. Also, a spot to attack cover 2 is between the cornerback and the safety. They're playing cover 2 on the outside, hard flats, or they're playing a more of a softer zone coverage. More soft, you take the underneath routes to the outside, that's perfectly fine. You got 7 guys in the back end who are watching the quarterback's eyes. They're not strictly in man coverage where you're not looking into the backfield. They're all looking in the backfield. So with that in mind, play action becomes a big factor. Now, watching this team's inside linebackers, they are very disciplined. They don't bite very heavy on these run plays, probably because they have so much speed where they can recover. For them, it's not even about necessarily getting them to jump all the way inside. It's just about getting them to hesitate, take one step down, because then that middle of the field, like we talked about, is where things can really be opened up and they can be a little bit late to get back. And then it's about the safety position. Now, there's a whole bunch of routes that I could show you here, but one route in particular that I will show you, which is kind of just a cover 2 beater. We saw it on a touchdown that they threw, play that they ran here. This is the ace smash Z killed. Saints scored a touchdown on this. It was Jameis Winston doing a terrific job
All right, so we're going to get a cool route concept here from the offense. Notice it's 3rd and 7, so it's an obvious passing down. The defense is in a sub package. The offense is in a pistol. They're going with a 2-4-5 front. They're putting an extra defensive back on the field. But these are the route concepts that you're going to see. At the bottom, you're going to get the flat in the corner, and at the top, you're going to get a corner route with also kind of a skinny post, which is ultimately where the ball is going to go here. Now, the scramble does help Winston on this play, but you really want to focus on the safeties here because this corner route at the bottom of the screen is what's going to hold the safety, and it's also where Jameis Winston is going to stare down the entire play to open up this skinny post. Pass protection is very key here, but this actually helps that the pass protection maybe wasn't perfect. Underneath, you get this flat route to pull that cornerback out of the play, but then it's about Winston eyeing down this corner route on the left side. It pulls the safety over there because if not, that's where the ball's going. And then when he steps out, the middle of the field is wide open where the safety left, and it's a touchdown.
This turned into a cover 2 man look, which is why Winston had to really stare down that corner route and improvise a little bit. But ultimately, look, if this was cover 2 zone, it would have been wide open. He has to go take that corner route. If he doesn't take the corner route, there's no one there because that flat route underneath is what the outside cornerback is occupied by. But since it turns into man coverage, it's a little bit tougher, but it still works out well. You get into these spots where they know you're throwing the ball. First off, you'll probably see left cover 2, but not only that, they're going to have a lot of pass rushers out there, and they're going to have a lot of defensive backs. So this is a little bit tougher, but you probably won't see cover 2 as often if you're in those positions. The next thing they're going to see a lot is cover 4. Another spot where you cannot forget about the checkdowns and the run game. Okay, now they have some weaknesses as well. Cover 4, you have to be very willing to take these checkdowns because one of the most open spots in a cover 4 defense can be these outside flats. A lot of teams, they do it in more passing down situations, and you can definitely run the football here. They're going to play its quarters coverage. So if it's a vertical route, they'll run man coverage with the vertical route. If you go short route concepts, a lot of times they like to mirror both sides of the field. You can run curl flats, you can run double curls, things like that. Where you see some of those press bail techniques where guys show the press and then they bail, but you're going to have athleticism to do that. They have, and Kevin King got beat deep, so maybe that's an area where they don't try it. But regardless, the outside flats are going to be open. The issue is that usually when you're playing a lot more cover 4, the offense needs a lot more yards than a flat route. 4-on-2 situations, shots down the field are a little bit tougher against cover 4, but one area they have to look at here is these outside cornerbacks are not going to have a lot of help. All right, they're a lot more one-on-ones. And like I said, if you run a vertical route, it becomes man-to-man coverage. And we saw the Saints attack Kevin King on one of these plays. He did basically like a deep out route, deep comeback route on the left side of the field, and he had success. He caught the pass. He turned Kevin King around because at that point, it basically turns into man coverage when it turns into a vertical route. And also the dagger concept. There's a lot of concepts that's very popular here. Look out for the dagger. We've seen the Lions. Every team does a dagger concept. They're just kind of running a safety off. And there's a couple things here that to look at. First off, you'll get a drag out a lot of times underneath, which is going to force the linebacker to make a decision. Does he drop for depth, which is going to take away that in route a little bit, or does he play underneath and take away that flat route? If he doesn't take away the flat, quarterback makes an easy decision, dumps the flat off, you get 5 yards. Why it's easier to do it on early downs. However, if the linebacker decides to take that flat away, now you have the dagger in the back end, which is kind of what opens things up here. First off, usually you have an inside deep route down the middle of the field, which is going to pull a safety deep. You're going to force it deep because the safety doesn't run deep. He's gone. He's wide open. It's a touchdown. So the safety is going to be drawn out deep. And then you have the deep in route on the outside. And the reason this works is because you have an outside corner and they're playing quarters coverage. So they're all taking a quarter of the field. Well, if you have a safety that's drawn out of the play because you have a deep route, and then you have a deep in underneath that, dagger concept is very, very popular, and it works really well against cover 4. You got to be able to pass protect, but you won't see as much cover 4 on base downs as you will at cover 2. These pass downs, if you can protect, that's one way to pass it. However, again, if you're in like a 3rd and long, that drag underneath doesn't become, that popular because you got to get a lot more yards in that. One of the most effective ways where if you're in a passing situation and throw a cover 4 defense at you is to put 3 receivers on the same side. It's to unbalance this defense that's built to be balanced. It's a cover 4 defense, so it's a balanced defense, which means that everybody's taking a quarter of the field. So if you throw 3 receivers on one side, you put trips one side, now all of a sudden you unbalance your offense, which gives you an advantage on one side of the field because it's either going to be 2 versus 3 offensively on the whichever side you throw it on. Let's say you throw it on the right side. The defense decides to unbalance their defense and shift it and say slide a safety over. Now you have a one-on-one in the backside, the opposite side with receiver versus cornerback. So now you get that one-on-one matchup. And if that's a guy like Kevin King, that may be where you trust your guy to win one-on-one. Alexander, it's going to be a little bit tougher in that situation, but it's a one-on-one, and it forces them to be unbalanced defensively. Of course, cover 6, like I said, just a mix. One side of the field is basically cover 2. The other side kind of is cover 4. The zone background that Joe Barry has, whether it's cover 2, cover 4, whatever it may be, and a guy that doesn't necessarily look to blitz, soft coverage that they're going to play in the back end. Look for the Lions to take advantage of those underneath opportunities, stay ahead of the chains, and implement with that with the run game. And that's perfectly fine. I like to see them take a couple shots to try to stretch the field early just to make the defense respect it, but it's perfectly fine to do that. Now, if the Packers come out and they're in a spot where they're kind of sitting on things underneath, they're playing some hard flats, or maybe they're playing more man coverage, and maybe they're putting a safety in the box and they're testing us to take shots deep, then yeah, taking a shot deep could be very helpful, unless we're still running the football and they just can't stop it. But yeah, taking a shot would be very helpful at that spot, and someone's got to make them pay. And that's the part I want to talk about next. But I'm perfectly fine with the Lions taking these underneath routes, and this could play actually right into their hands. Packers play like we kind of anticipate, giving up a lot of the underneath routes. The Lions can have a lot of success unless they adjust to that and they think that, hey, the Lions are a team that likes to throw underneath. Let's slide people up. Then you got to be able to make them pay deep. Man coverage is in a spot they will throw in, and when they do this, a lot of times I've seen is when they'll slide a safety into the box. This team does not want necessarily to blitz. Like every team, we want to get pressure with 4 guys. So that's the word we've gotten from the Packers. It makes sense. They blitz 25% of the time, a quarter of the time. We blitzed half the time last week, probably because of the situation that we were in. They do blitz. If they bring a defensive back into blitz, and that's a cornerback or a safety that comes down and blitzes, you have to watch. And they really only blitz with 5 guys, so it's nothing crazy. You got to watch for that turning into man coverage. And that's when you can get some of those man coverage look.
3rd and short, Packers trying to get off the field, so they bring a 5-man rush here. So they're blitzing, and this is where you get this opportunity to match up Kamara against Devondre Campbell. If the Lions can get this with Swift or Jamaal, I anticipate this is where Goff's going to look. Probably it's his first read, too, a lot of times as well. Hard to see, but you have the tight end pretty much running free with the safety coming down in coverage. So they don't want the linebacker on the tight end, so they put a safety on him. Well, now you have a size advantage. If they go to these situations where it's man coverage across the board, you just go to your favorite matchup.
Are those guys, and who do I trust to make a play on the football? So that's when it comes down to chemistry, things like that. He's not outnumbering you like crazy. It's usually only 5 guys. That is a blitz. And then it's just about those man-to-man beaters. And I'm telling you, Swift, Jamaal, Hockenson. The thing that I did like from the Lions looking back at that 49ers game is I like the way that they would kind of make and use the speed against them early. I love the way they did this fake toss, play action, roll out, Goff, and then he had his tight end Hockenson over the middle. I like that because it really does, get this defense flowing that's kind of built with speed, one direction, and you can just fly off another direction, and that works well. He has enough mobility. Jameis Winston really hurt this Packers defense with his legs, and I don't anticipate Goff to do that as much because he's just not the scrambler that maybe Winston is. Jameis Winston looked to use his legs. If Goff can do that, fine, go for it. But you got to look at those guys that can win in man coverage situations. A couple guys look to attack. Kevin King. Jair Alexander is really tough to attack, plus he can line up anywhere. Kevin King and Chandon Sullivan. Those are the 2 guys I think you're going to have a lot of success against. And still, even in some of these man coverage by cornerbacks, they'll have their linebackers drop in the zone just to not put them in a simple man-to-man coverage situation. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get man-to-man there. So if you're talking about cornerbacks, Kevin King, if he's on the field, it could be Stokes. And Chandon Sullivan are 2 spots where I think you have a lot of success. Sullivan probably going to be lined up with Amon-Ra St. Brown a lot, so he's a guy that I would look to go to for sure if they get that matchup. When you get into these downs that are behind the chains, because this is going to happen with us a flag blown up early, and you're in a 3rd and long, and you're in a spot where they know you're passing the ball, Packers do what we've always seen them do. They put a lot of linebackers on the field. Now, they won't have za'darius, so that helps us, who's a really good pass rusher. They'll put linebackers on the field, and they'll put a lot of defensive backs. Sometimes they'll take their linebackers off the field, just so they'll cover your tight end and your running back with defensive backs. That way, it's not a complete mismatch. I like what the Saints did, and that was those tight end screens. Now, they did this on early downs as well, but look to a tight end screen here, possibly, when they put those linebackers out, even if they don't blitz. Just because you have guys rushing downfield the front 4, so they're usually not going to recognize it because all they're focused on is getting downhill. And then you have a tight end out there who can make some plays like a Hawk, and you got lead blockers with athletic offensive linemen that can help you block downfield. Especially the Packers try to bring heat early, but look for a tight end screen because it can throw off these pass rushers who a lot of times aren't looking to do anything but get downhill in these obvious passing downs or even early downs. If they're not paying attention to anything else, look at tight end screens because it's a way to just make them be prepared for it, slow down the pass rush, and if it doesn't, you're going to have a wide open route on a tight end screen. Screens in general are great, but tight end screens, I really like that. So here are my players to watch for this game for the Packers and the Lions side defensively for the Packers. And, with a lot of these answers, you could probably see the same guys for the Lions, but these aren't necessarily the players that I think will be great. It's just the players that I think are going to have a huge impact on this game. whether or not they play well or not is going to be very important and impactful to the score. So starting off with the Packers, first off, Preston Smith. I think this guy is a game changer. I do. I think especially in run defense, he can get after the quarterback too, so you can't deny that. And he can drop into coverage. They do like to drop him into coverage when they bring a four-man rush and they're in their base sets. They'll drop an outside linebacker. A lot of times it'll be him. Maybe more Rashawn Gary because he's super athletic too, but I would definitely look for Preston Smith. You could throw Rashawn Gary into this mix if you want. I think the outside linebacker position is important because there's a lot of talent at this side, but Preston Smith to me is the game changer of that unit. Then I put Devondre Campbell. Campbell's an interesting one. In zone coverage, you'll see him take a running back out of the backfield. You'll see him against the run. Can he avoid blockers at the second level? Campbell, to me, can be all around and play all around the field, right? We talked about it. We really focused on the inside linebackers in this video, but he'd be a guy I'd look for. And finally, Kevin King or Eric Stokes. We get Kevin's King on the field. Do we get Eric Stokes more in this game? I don't know how much we'll attack Stokes. He's very new to the NFL. So like Rodgers, he's going to attack the young guys. Maybe Goff attacks the young guy. We'll have to wait and see, but I think that's a very interesting spot. And an honorable mention, man, Clark here, because Clark is a game changer. Kenny Clark's a game changer from that spot, but I'll just call it an honorable mention. Now, for the Lions side players I have to watch, I could literally sit here and just say tight end, running back, and bam. That's pretty much it. However, I'm gonna try to get some interesting names here. Okay, yeah, I put Hockenson again. I know, TJ Hockenson. How can you not watch for the guy? Is he our best player on offense? Maybe not. I mean, we do have a guy named Frank Ragnow. He's pretty darn solid, but he's also a pretty good player. T.J. Hockenson is all right. And he gave some fits last week to San Francisco, and I think this week he's going to be another impactful player. And you can throw Fells into that mix too because of his ability to attack the middle of the field. I think when they blitz, he's going to get some one-on-one opportunities. He'll be a guy that we would look to, whether it's a safety or linebacker, whoever's trying to cover him. Really, whoever tries to cover him, I mean, Goff's going to look to him regardless. He's a guy that can beat man coverage. He's tough there, so it's going to be really difficult for them to put linebackers on him. If it's in zone coverage, you know, he can attack some of the spots, underneath routes, quick hitters. He's just an option for Goff really everywhere. Tight end screens, you got to watch him in blocking as well, not even just pass catching. Can he help us block down the field? His protection is going to be big here, even on early downs, because the Packers are going to get after it in early downs. They have guys to do it. So that, but also in run blocking, can he help move some of these guys? And that's not even to say he has to be dominant. That's just not getting kind of bullied at his spot, which can open up the run to the right side of the offensive line as well. And that would be huge for us in this game. So I'm looking at Matt Nelson. And if we do get in those passing situations, which I'm sure we will, how well does Matt Nelson hold up? And finally, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yeah, I'm going with the rookie here. I like the matchup on Shannon Sullivan. So the more he gets that, the better. If it's safe, it's a safety, I like that matchup too. I also think there's blocking importance here. We saw it with Khalif, we saw it with Tyrell and stuff like that. But St. Brown to me is the best Lions receiving blocker on this team. And when you look at this, Hawkinson's going to be important in this area, but so is St. Brown blocking to second level to kind of spring some of these runs. I know he's not the biggest guy, but he can be dominant from the slot. We saw that back at USC. So if he gets a shot to run deep, if they throw a cover 2 look and he can split a safety and he's running deep, Goff might give him an opportunity. And if he does, I wouldn't be shocked if St. Brown made a play on it. I feel like I cheated a little bit on the Lions side here because I put 4 players and an honorable mention, but I don't care. There's 4 players I want to watch. All right, so the 4th player I have is Jamaal Williams. I got to put Jamaal in here. He's literally playing his former team. Now, I'm really focused on the O-line because I know we got the backs. I couldn't not put him on here. That's Jamaal Williams. Jamaal Williams playing his former team. All right, Jamaal Williams interviews are just awesome. I love it. I love how he keeps bringing out that, hey, rock, paper, scissors. I love it. But I got to put Jamaal Williams on here. Wouldn't be shocked if he broke something huge in this game, and I hope he does. I hope he does, and I hope he gives us a little dance afterwards. So I'm going to go Jamaal Williams. In my honorable mention, I'm going to go with Trinity Benson here. I definitely was thinking about putting Cephas. I bounced between the two. I don't know if we're going to see Tyrell. It doesn't seem like we will. I would love to see Kadero Hodge. Ooh, that would be awesome. But I'm really leaning towards seeing a guy like Trinity Benson because I think he gets a lot of snaps this week. And I think the connection with Goff and Benson is really going to grow after another week of practice. I think we really saw the trust that Goff had in Benson as that game went on against San Francisco. Because the thing is, the guy gets open. I do like the trust factor that I think that Goff is going to have with Trinity Benson to possibly have a big week this week. All right, so those are my players to watch for this game. Let me know in the comments below what players you are watching. And as always, thank you to our sponsor of today's video, BetQL, who went 13-2 last week with their 5-star bet. So go check it out. Also, use promo code DOD for 25% off. Link is in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.